1923 FY, the state of Michigan versus Dakota Verana.
Good morning, Your Honor. Omar Shasha on behalf of the people, PH 6332.
And good morning, Judge David Cripps, P 34972, appearing on behalf of my client, Dakota Joseph Verana, who's seated here on court. Tell the judge your name, please.
Dakota Joseph Verana.
All right, so I'll accept that. All right, call your first witness, Mr. Shadra.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, if people call the first witness Joshua Rogers to the stand.
Mr. Rogers, can you stand and face me? Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. All
right, sir, if you can have a seat in that chair. I'm going to ask you to speak directly into that microphone. If you If you can start, sir, can you start by saying your first and last name and then spelling your first and last name?
Yes, ma'am. Joshua Rogers, JOSHUA
All right, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, sir. Can you please restate your name for the record?
Joshua Rogers.
Okay, and I'm going to take you back to the date of 9/5/2023. Do you remember this date?
Yes, sir.
And were you at the location of 7th Avenue in the city of Taylor, County of Wayne?
Michael Street, sir.
Okay, and what's at that location?
Sonia's house. I don't know exactly what her last name is. Next door is my baby mom.
Okay, and how did you get to this location?
I drove there. Somebody was intoxicated and needed to go there.
Okay, and you were the driver of that vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and was that in fact your vehicle?
No, it was that person's mother's vehicle.
Okay, and what was that person's name?
Seth Flores.
Okay, and did you eventually get to that location?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what did you do when you got to that location?
I waited for whatever Seth needed to do.
Okay, where did you pull up to this? Was it a home, residential area?
In the driveway.
Okay, and when you got to the driveway, what if anything did you do?
I rolled up a joint,
Okay, and what did you do after that?
got ready to smoke it
Okay,
before it was interrupted by that person.
okay, you indicated that you were interrupted by an individual. Do you see that individual in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please state where he is seated and the article of clothing that he's wearing?
To the left of me with a blue shirt.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the identification of the defendant in this case.
Record will so reflect.
Okay, you can put your hand down now. So when you indicated that he interrupted you, so were you parked in the driveway at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how did he interrupt you?
By pistol whipping me.
Okay, so did he walk up to your door?
I don't know what he was doing before he came up to the door, but a car pulled up. I heard, they're here. Seth ran out of the passenger seat. I heard a pop. I thought my friend got killed.
Okay, so you indicated you heard a pop. Can you describe that?
Gunshot.
A gunshot. Okay. So then, what if anything happened next?
I thought my friend got killed, and then I seen Dakota Verana approach me with the gun, like I was gonna get shot, but I got pistol whipped instead. The bullet came out and shot me in my arm.
All right,
Let me back you up there.
Sir, look at me for a sec. Okay, listen, I know coming to court is very emotional. All right, take a breath.
And then I can't breathe.
Listen, just take a breath. We got time. You need a glass of water?
I'm good.
All right, listen, you gotta listen to the question and answer the question. He'll ask you more. All right, let's get through this. Go ahead.
So you indicated you were pistol whipped.
Yes.
So was your window rolled down at that time?
Yes.
Okay, and he pistol whipped you through the window?
Yes.
Okay, and where did he hit you?
Right here, the side of my head.
Is that the
Right
left
side by the temple.
Okay, and what if anything happened next?
The gun went off and went through my arm.
So the bullet struck you in your arm?
Yes, on my
What?
shoulder,
Okay, was that your right or left shoulder?
right shoulder, in and out.
Okay, so after you were struck, what if anything did you do?
Freaked out, trying to figure out where the bullet went. Thought maybe it went into the car or the house next door. Everybody scattered. And I got out of the car in a daze and walked up to the house and started banging on the door for help.
Okay, did somebody respond?
After they realized it was me and not the person who was shooting,
Okay, and what if anything happened when they responded?
I went into the house trying to get myself cleaned up and hide because I was on parole and I was scared.
Okay,
I couldn't hear the last thing you said, I'm sorry.
I was on parole and I was scared.
Okay, were you bleeding at that time?
Yes,
Okay, did you try to cover the wound?
yes.
Okay, and
With a tampon.
okay, and then what if anything happened next? Did you stay inside the
Police
house?
showed up.
Okay, and did you make a statement to police?
I ended up coming out to cooperate because I'm on parole and had no choice.
Okay, and did you make a statement to police?
Yes.
There's no further questions for this witness.
Cross, Mr. Craig?
Thank you, Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Could you tell me your complete name, please?
Joshua Allen Rogers.
And you said that you're on parole, is that correct?
At the time I was
Yes, and what were you on parole for?
interfering with a crime report, threatening to injure and kill, felonious assault, interfering with a crime report.
Judge, I would object to relevance.
It's not relevant.
Well, it was brought up on direct, so I'm just following up on it.
Yeah, I know, but that's not coming in.
All right, so let me rephrase my question. Within the last 10 years, have you been convicted of a felony or misdemeanor involving theft, dishonesty, or false statement?
Oh, yes, sir.
What have you been convicted of?
I have been convicted of felonious assault, interfering with a crime report, threatening.
Sir,
to-
listen. He's asking a specific question. Have you been convicted of a crime involving theft, dishonesty, or a false statement
Within the last 10 years?
within the last 10 years?
Never, but not in the last 10 years, so. Well, it's theft before the 10 years, nothing, then dishonesty.
All right, and were you on parole, probation for the theft charge?
I went to prison for it.
Were you discharged?
Florida.
Judge, again, I would,
Liz,
I can ask my question.
you can ask your question. Go
Were you
ahead.
discharged off parole within the last 10 years?
Yes,
All right, I believe it's admissible, Your Honor. There's case law that says you go from the date of discharge from parole in terms of the 10-year.
Yeah, I think if it's found that
there was
that,
no parole in Florida.
all right. Well,
You're not.
There
I didn't ask you
wasn't?
the question yet.
No.
So,
No parole
so,
system in Florida, sir.
all right, listen.
Thank you for.
Okay, well, we didn't know.
Read your
Listen.
case law.
Listen to me. Sir, look at me. You can look at me for the exam if it's gonna help you get through this, but listen. He's got a right to ask questions, and we follow the Constitution in this courtroom. This is not personal, but you gotta listen, and when this is a legal argument that we're trying to figure out. So what he's asking you is, were you discharged from either probation or parole within the last 10 years, or was it prior to 10 years?
I just got off October 20th for the.
For that theft
Not for
case?
that.
No, when did you get off it for the theft
I was
case?
never on parole or probation for the theft case.
Okay, and that was over 10 years
Way
ago?
over 10 years.
All right.
All right, so back to the evening in question, you said this was September 25th, 2023, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were at a location on Michael Street before you went over to the location where the incident occurred, is that correct?
The only place I was at the location where it happened.
All right, and that's on Michael Street.
Yes,
And you went there with some other people, is that correct?
yes.
Were you driving the car or somebody?
Yes.
Was that because the driver of the car was too intoxicated to drive?
Yes.
And did you have a driver's license at that time?
No.
Prior to arriving, well, strike that, what was your purpose for going to Michael Street?
To make sure the person could see who they needed to see, for whatever reason, it's not my business, they're drunk. I can let somebody drive drunk.
What was that person's name?
Seth Flores.
And was he the owner of the vehicle?
No,
Who was the owner?
Suzanne Flores.
Okay, who was that in relation to you?
Seth Flores' mother.
And so, who else was in the car that you drove over to Michael Street?
Some girl named Trinity, I don't know her last name. She was in the backseat.
Maybe Trinity Morris?
I don't know her last name.
Was there a person by the name of Andrew Learning in the car also?
I don't believe so.
Do you remember telling the police that he was with
He
you
was
also?
there. I don't think he was in the car at the time. I think he was in the house. I don't remember for sure.
All right, so for whatever reason, you were driving over to Michael Street for a purpose that you didn't even know, is that right?
Exactly.
And when you got at that location, you said you parked in the driveway,
Yes,
so you're still in the driver's seat.
yes,
And you told the judge that you started to roll up a joint, is that right? Is that correct?
yes.
What was in the joint?
Weed, it's legal.
Have you been, did you have a marijuana card?
I don't need one, it's legal.
All right, I just asked you whether you
No,
had
I
a
don't.
marijuana card. Were you drinking any alcohol that
No,
evening?
sir, I don't drink.
Before arriving at the location, had you smoked marijuana already?
No, sir.
Use any other narcotics at that time?
No, sir.
Why was it you decided, while you're driving a car without a license, to start rolling up a marijuana joint?
Because it had been all day where I was running around working and doing stuff that men do, and I needed to have some time to myself and didn't plan on driving after that, because the other person who was in the back seat was gonna drive after that.
So you were still remaining in the driver's seat at that time?
Yeah, I was sitting there chilling,
And who were you chilling
using it
with?
as a seat.
Who was in the car with you?
The girl Trinity was in the back.
Anybody else?
No, maybe Seth was I think he was in the passenger seat at the time. If he
Right.
wasn't, he was already outside of the car. He was in the vicinity of the area.
So Seth may or may not have been in the car with
I
you?
can't remember exactly, but he was right there. He was either getting out of the car or he was in the passenger seat.
Did you say that the person named Green was in the back seat when you
I
talked to the
said
police?
Trinity, don't know her last name, was in the back seat.
Or did you also tell the police that a person by the name of Seth Green was in the back seat?
I never said Green. I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know. That's another nickname he has. I don't know.
All right.
That's a nickname someone has?
Yes.
Who?
I don't, Seth Flores. I don't know. I may have said Green to him. If not, I scratched that. It's Flores. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do you go by any other names yourself?
Joshua Rogers. Some people call me Jew in prison. I don't carry that out here.
What was that name?
Jew. Nobody
Jew?
calls me that out here. Jew. Nobody calls
Jew.
me that out here.
Okay,
Detroit Jew 420 on TikTok. That's it.
thank
I
you.
don't have nicknames and I don't have aliases.
All right. So, when you pulled into the driveway, you opened the car door and started smoking the joint. Is
I
that-
didn't smoke anything in that car.
Sir, you talked to the police after this occurred, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you, tell them the truth?
Yeah.
And when you came into contact with, 1 minute, Your Honor.
If I was smoking a joint, I was
Sure,
smoking a
there's,
joint.
listen, he's allowed to ask
I know,
questions,
I'm
just
saying, I'm letting him know if that's what
Right.
happened, that's what I said, then that's what I
let
said.
him ask the question. There's no question on the floor.
Do you remember talking to a Taylor police officer after this
Yes.
occurred? Might be easier if you wait till I finish my question before you answer, so you know what you're answering.
Okay.
And when you talked to the Taylor police officer, did you tell him the truth?
Yes.
And did you tell Officer Lumetta, I believe that's Lumetta, that upon arrival at that location on 7196 Michael Street, you opened your door and started smoking a joint?
Yes,
So you're getting high at that time.
I tried,
I'm sorry,
I tried.
I couldn't hear you.
Sir,
I just couldn't hear
just
what you said.
1 second. He said, am I on trial here? Listen, sir, look at me. Mr. Rogers, you're not on trial, but he has a right to cross-examine you. This is not personal. Answer the question on the floor, okay?
It's personal.
No, sir, we are making a court record. These are questions and answers.
So at that point in time, when you're smoking the joint, did you hear some yelling going on?
Some commotion.
Did you hear some yelling going on?
Someone said they're here.
Did you tell Officer Lumetta in the same verbal interview you had that shortly after you started smoking your joint, you heard Dakota Verana yelling at Green?
I can't remember.
You can't remember
I'm
what
sure
you...
something was said, but I can't remember exactly what I told the officer about who said what at that moment.
All right. Did you know Mr. Verana from the past?
From like 2015. Not really a personal relationship, didn't do any business with him. Nothing like that.
So,
Met a couple of times.
all right. So when you heard yelling going on, where was Mr. Green?
Like I said, somewhere in the vicinity of the vehicle or either in the passenger seat.
And you told the police you didn't know what they were arguing about.
I have no clue.
All right. And at some point in time, you said that my client approached the vehicle you were in.
Yes.
Was he by himself or was anybody with him?
The only person I seen was him.
Okay. And you were still seated in the car at the time
Yes.
with the door open?
Yes.
And then you said he came up to the car where you were seated?
Yes,
Who spoke first?
nobody spoke.
What happened right when you arrived at the car door?
He brought the gun like the left arm, like this. Thought I was gonna get shot in my head because he's coming at me, not from above, like this.
All right, pause 1
And
second.
then pistol whipped me.
All right, listen, so let the record reflect the witness is holding his hand out in front of him in a way that looks like he's pointing the weapon at Mr. Rogers as he approaches. Is that accurate, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
And you said earlier you told the judge you got hit on the right side of your head, is that correct?
Yes.
So if you're seated in the driver's seat, the left side of your head would have been closest
Not if
to the
Not if
door.
I'm
is
looking
that-
at him.
wait, let him answer the question. Let him ask the question, and then answer it. Go ahead, Mr. Krebs.
The left side of your head would have been closer to the window.
Yes.
All right. But you're claiming you got hit on the right side of the head, is that right?
Yes.
All right, so how was it that if you had your left side nearest the window, you got hit on the right side? So you turned your head.
Yes, to look at what was happening.
All right, so listen, were your legs in the vehicle
Yes,
and the door was open?
yes,
Are you guys facing the house?
Facing
So
the
you're
house.
pulling in directly.
yes.
Where did that vehicle park that parked?
Somewhere back here.
All right, somewhere behind you, out of your
Yes.
vision.
Yes.
All right, and he comes up on the driver's side of the
From this
vehicle.
way,
What's this way? The record.
from the driver's side.
He
Right.
comes up on the driver's side and then you do what?
This to look at what's happening.
All
who's
right,
coming at
the
me.
witness is turning his head and
And with a
facing.
gun in his left hand, smacked me with it right here, and it went off and went through my shoulder.
All right, so
Okay.
he was holding the gun in his.
Sign.
Hey, look at me. Listen, this is a courtroom. Listen, look at me. This is a courtroom. We're gonna treat it like one. Sir, you turn your head to look at him. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he hit you with the gun. Show me again.
He hit me with the gun in my temple area with his left hand. The gun went off and went through my shoulder.
All right,
All right, so as I understand what you just said, is you said you're still seated in the driver's seat, is that right?
Yes.
And then you turn your head to the right,
To the left.
to the left. You turn your head to the left, but there's still the car door there, right? Between you
Car
and
door's over here. This is all open area right here. Car door opens this way, sir.
Right. I understand. So you're turning this way, but there's still the car door between him and you, is there?
There's no car door between us. It was all open area. The car door was not in his way.
And so you said you got
He was
hit on,
approaching from the left behind me, so therefore he was approaching the area where it was all open.
you got hit once, is that right?
Yes,
And then you heard a gunshot,
all instantly.
right?
Pow, through my shoulder.
You didn't say anything before the shooting?
Nothing,
And he didn't say anything to you?
nothing.
All right, then what did you do?
Everybody scattered. I got out of the car to try to find some help.
So you went up
Walked up
to,
to the front door and started banging on it.
okay, and had you been in that house before?
No, maybe way back in the day, because that's next door to my baby mama, there's somebody that used to live there that doesn't live there now, but
Okay. And then you got inside the house, is that right?
yes,
Did you call the police?
no,
The police eventually did arrive, is that right?
yes, they did.
Okay. And that's when you were interviewed by the police, is that
Yes.
correct? And the police asked you whether you wanted medical attention or not, is that right?
Yes.
And you refused medical
I
attention?
did not refuse medical attention.
I'm sorry?
I did not refuse medical attention. I was seen by the ambulance.
Well, was it that you refused to go to the hospital then? Is that what it was?
Yes, I was told by the ambulance drivers that it wasn't much of an issue. They couldn't do much more. They cleaned it up. There's no reason for anybody to go to the hospital. I agree.
Would you agree with what Officer Johnson put in his report that you were treated by Taylor Fire Department but refused to go to the hospital?
Yes.
Right. Now, did you ever go to the police station to make any reports regarding this?
No.
Did you ever make any handwritten statements regarding this incident?
No.
After the incident occurred, did you ever reach out to anyone in Mr. Verana's family?
After the incident occurred, my car got fixed by his stepfather.
Did you ever reach out to to ask for any money so you wouldn't appear in court?
No,
Never did that? Never sent text messages asking for money?
I've never sent.
Let me
any
finish my
text.
question so you know how you're answering this. Did you ever send any text messages reaching out to Mr. Verana or someone in his family asking for money to not appear in court?
I can't remember.
So that means you may have, then, is that right?
A family member maybe, not to appear, not for not appearing in court though, because I was homeless and needed help.
Did you send text message in that regard?
No,
Did you ever send a text message stating, give me some money, I won't appear in court?
no.
1 minute, Your Honor. Did you, after this incident, did you ever come into contact with my client's mother?
Yes, she lives with his stepfather where I got my car.
Right. And did you ever say to his mother that if somebody fixed your car, you wouldn't come to court?
No,
Did you ever say if you received some money to his mother now, if you received money, you wouldn't come to court?
no,
Do you deny all that under
I
oath?
deny that.
And you deny you sent text messages too asking for that, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Everything further, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Nothing further for the people, Judge.
Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Judge, the people
All right, sir, you're excused. If you can go back out and you're either done for the day or you can sit out in the hallway if you want to speak to the prosecutor.
No, I have to go to work.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you. Do you have any other witnesses?
No further witnesses for the people, Judge, the people rest.
No witnesses on behalf of the defense, Your Honor.
Okay.
Judge, the people move for bind over on all counts and reserve argument for a vote.
All right. Mr. Cripps?
Judge, this, in relation to count one, sounds like a situation that there's no reason for it to happen. In other words, there's no motive, there's no stated intent. It just seems to be a spontaneous incident that happened. Mr. Rogers testified that he's out there driving the car, sitting there, smoking a joint, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my client comes up and hits him once in the head, and it sounds like the gun accidentally went off at that time. So we believe that the elements of assault, great bodily harm, less than murder have not been established. So we'd ask that count one be dismissed or insufficient evidence. It sounds like the gun went off accidentally when it struck the once, and it only hit him once to the side of the head. Nothing further.
Thank you, Judge. And with respect to defense counsel's argument, Judge, as it pertains to count one, Judge, we have, I think when we look to whether or not the defendant in this case had the ability to cause the specific harm, he in fact did, Judge. This was an attack that was unprovoked. He approached the complaining witness at his door, the door vehicle. He pistol whipped him, Judge. At that point, the firearm discharges, Judge, and it strikes him in his arm. Judge, it could have struck him in the leg, it could have struck him at a vital organ, Judge, causing this specific harm, Judge. So we believe we've met the burden of probable cause and we move for bind.
Right, it wasn't clear whether or not the firearm was a revolver or a semi-automatic weapon. All right, this is a probable cause hearing. It's not whether or not the charges have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm looking at the jury instructions, definition of a dangerous weapon and a firearm. Presumably, if it was a revolver, the defendant would have had to have pulled the trigger. If it was a semi-automatic weapon, he would have had to have had one in the chamber when he approached that vehicle. That's problematic to me. And when we're looking at intent, I'm going to look at what he said, what he did, and how he did it. The allegation is he approached someone with a deadly weapon and struck him upon the head. I mean, a natural and probable consequence of that a foreseeable consequence of that is that the firearm would go off. He could have caused, I mean, just on the head injury, striking someone with a firearm could arguably meet the definition of assault with an intent to do great bodily harm less than murder. So with respect to that, the defendant's bound over on count 1 and count 2, count 3 and count 4 are the felony firearm charges that are attached to that. And count 5 is possession by a felon. There was a stipulation that the defendant's rights to own or possess a firearm had not been restored following a prior felony conviction. So, and I would note that the witness was clearly hostile, but you know, when he didn't know the answer to something, he said he didn't know. When he, you know, he talked about his prior criminal history, it's not like he came in and tried to paint himself in some, you know, preposterous, you know, wonderful light that he was Mother Teresa out there. And given all of that, I do think that he was credible, certainly for the purposes of a preliminary exam. So the defendant's found over his charge. And then the arraignment on the information is,
November 27th.
what's that date?
November 27th.
November 27th at the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. And then bond will continue. There's no reason to believe there's any allegations of any violations of the bond. At least I haven't heard any, so bond will continue.
The bond currently, I believe, is 50,000, 10% GPS tether.
Yeah.
My client has had no tether violations. I wonder if the court would consider deleting the tether as a condition of bond.
Mr. Shadra?
Judge, if you would object to any bond reduction, Judge, as it pertains to the arrest of the defendant, Judge, he did flee, Judge, to the city, to the state of Kentucky and returned, and the officers had to make the arrest at that time, Judge. So he is a flight risk.
It sounds like he returned. So I don't think he'd be a flight risk if he came back.
Do you want a DSU report?
He came back because he heard about that there was a warrant, so they're planning on turning himself back in. Yes, please.
All right, I'm not gonna change it now, but I am ordering a DSU report. So by the time the arraignment comes, he can be evaluated to determine if that's a long-term appropriate bond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. We're all
Yeah.
set. Yep, thank you.
You didn't by chance get my swearings yet, did you?